This is The Art of Thought, episode 21, recorded on January 18th, 2019. My name is Kweku Asafu-Adjaye. Welcome to the show. I'm doing this a little late. I'm actually recording this super late. Like, it seems like it's getting later and later as I've been recording this show. And yeah, so I'm doing this at like 8:22 p.m. at night. And it's like, it feels so late. It feels very late. But getting to the topics at hand, this week, honestly, this was the toughest week to come up with topics. Because, as you know, it seems as if I've been running out of ideas to do. I've only done 22 episodes. Majority of them have been solo podcasts. And it seems like I've been running out of ideas to do. So it's getting tougher. So those of you who are still tuning in every week, thank you so much. Anonymous viewers there, thank you so much for viewing. It gets tough. I kind of use this podcast as a ramble cast in a way, because some days, you know, I don't feel like there's anything up. There's nothing really different going on in my house, in my life. There's nothing really going on in my brain where I'm like, man, I have this thing on my mind. I gotta talk about it. There might be a guest later. I'm not sure just yet, but we'll see. But going forward, I just wanted to say, I talked about this specific game in one of my blog posts way back a while ago, Kingdom Hearts. And if you're familiar with Kingdom Hearts, then you'll know that the third installment in the series was announced a long time ago. And finally, in about 11 days, less than 2 weeks away in the US, the game will be releasing on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And I'm super excited for this game. Like, I have been watching every single trailer that has come out for the game. I've been following every single YouTuber, not necessarily subscribing, but I've been watching just about every single YouTuber every once in a while covering the game. I'm just like, I've started fanaticizing. I don't know how to say the word. I've just become a fanatic of the game series and all. Like, my key on my actual house keys, like my set of keys, I have a Keyblade key, like a small one, like a replica one that was made directly from Disney, that I got from a convention, and I bought that thing like 3 years ago. So I started like becoming a fanatic of it. Like, it's just become kind of insane. And like, I was able to pre-order the super limited edition PS4. That was Kingdom Hearts edition. I was able to pre-order that. It's a limited edition PS4 Pro that with Kingdom Hearts etching and a bunch of nice stuff, goodness all over it. I think it's got like the 1 terabyte storage, just like this PS4 Slim. It's got the it's a Pro, so it plays 4K and it plays things much better because it's got better hardware than the regular PS4s. So I'm super excited for it to come in. And like, I think GameStop literally told me to get my, make sure the billing info is correct so they can ship it out on time, and it comes in on release day. So it's going to come to my house on release day. Hopefully I'll be home when it comes out. Hopefully it won't be working that day. I'm super excited for this game to come out. For those of you who don't know about Kingdom Hearts is a series about 3 kids. Not necessarily 3 kids, but pretty much 3 kids. It expands more. 3 kids, Sora, Riku, and Kairi. Kairi has become was at one point, actually pretty much through the whole series, was like the damsel in distress, was always getting in some kind of trouble. And then her boys, Riku and Sora, had to come and like save her in some way. And it always ended up Sora saving the day in the end of every one. And then sometimes Riku was the one to always save Sora. The games have already been released, like the previous titles, so there's really nothing to spoil here. All I can say is you got to experience it, but I can just say Riku comes out on top a lot more than you would think for like a backup character, a backup protagonist. He's like the secondary main protagonist, I feel like, of the series, other than King Mickey, Mickey Mouse himself. It also includes, the Kingdom Hearts series is a partnership between Square Enix and Disney Pixar. And that was my phone charging on the Nintendo Switch. So Kingdom Hearts is a partnership with Square Enix and at one point Square Soft for the original one, and Disney Pixar, and Disney/Pixar. So they have a bunch of properties from Disney and Pixar in the series, and it's amazing. They have toys in the latest one that's coming out on the 29th of January this month, in 11 days. It is going to feature, I think, 8 Disney Pixar worlds. Toy Story, what is it called? Tangled. It's going to include Frozen, even with the Let It Go scene with Elsa there. It's going to include, what else? Pirates of the Caribbean, Monsters Inc. So it's going to include the Monstropolis, the factory area. It's going to include, what was it called? It's going to include a bunch of places. Hercules' world, Olympus. At one point earlier in the series, they only really explored like Olympus Coliseum, but they've been slowly expanding out more and more. It's going to include a bunch of places. I think I missed one. And Big Hero 6. It's going to include that movie's area. So San Francisco. So that's a really cool thing. I remember my friend who got me into Kingdom Hearts back in the day. He actually passed away back 3 years ago. Not even 3 years ago. It's probably like 2 years ago technically, because it's not October yet. October 2016, that friend of mine passed away. He was like a year older than me. And like I think his birthday just passed too, so he would have been 26 or 27. I'm 25 now, and he introduced me to just PlayStation in general, because I didn't have a PlayStation. I had, a Nintendo console. I had an Xbox. And he introduced me to PlayStation, and then he also let me borrow games from him. We would like trade off games and borrow each other's games. He let me borrow Kingdom Hearts, the original Kingdom Hearts on PlayStation 2. And that was some alarm thing that's on my, the electric transformer, energy transformer. But he let me borrow the game, and I remember beating it. I remember seeing the commercials on TV, and it just blew my mind, because I had grown up with the series. I had grown up with all of the movies that were included in the original Kingdom Hearts 1. There's a lot to name on that one. I can't even remember all of them. I know Atlantis was one of them. Olympus Coliseum from Hercules, the movie, was on there. I don't think there was a bunch of places, and then a lot of original worlds too. Final Fantasy characters were on there. So, I played Final Fantasy as a kid. Actually, I didn't play it, but I watched my brother and people play Final Fantasy, especially 7 back in those days. And that's how I got into RPGs, really. And when I saw all those characters being able to interact, Mickey Mouse and stuff, it blew my mind. Even Goofy and Donald Duck, it blew my mind, because it was like all of my favorite things that I grew up seeing. And I was still very young. I was still probably middle school when I saw the commercial. All of my favorite things that I watched back as a kid, the cartoons and stuff, came together in an interactable game. What? And so of course I had to fall in love with it. It was amazing. So I just remember playing the first game. It was a winter time when I played the first game. In fact, let me see, when did the original Kingdom Hearts come out? I remember I was absorbed in it. I couldn't wait to come home from school and play the game. Kingdom Hearts came out March 28, 2002. And it came out, the composer was Yoko Shimomura. So, the music that he made obviously just transcended. It stays in my brain, and it's amazing. I remember, like I said, going back to the story, I remember going back, going to school, being excited, coming home, and even forgetting to do my homework, as sad as it is. Forgetting to do my homework because I just was so excited to play Kingdom Hearts. So I was like, I'm going to play more Kingdom Hearts. I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down and play it. And it's just amazing seeing, the original characters from the original game. In fact, here it is here. It's a series crossover action RPG game. Seeing the characters just tie together and interact and talk. You would never have imagined Disney, you never imagine Mickey talking to, say, Hercules, for instance, or Donald Duck interacting with so-and-so other characters. You wouldn't imagine that a long time ago, and now it's just plausible. Oh yeah, we had Nightmare Before Christmas in it. I remember I have this on VHS, Nightmare Before Christmas. So it was just amazing, like just being able to see all my favorite characters just interact together, and it was amazing. It was just something that you as if you're a kid in those early days, it's different nowadays with imagine how imagination works. But if you're a kid in those early days, we didn't really have internet like that. We had high speed internet. They called it high speed internet. They didn't just call it the internet. They called it high speed internet because a lot of people in 2002 still had dial up. And I was one of the first houses. My family was one of the first families to have high speed internet. And I still didn't really grasp the internet because I was too young to care. And I would just play the game, and I would get stuck on parts, and I'd be like, oh, man. And I'd just sit down in the darkness of this basement that I'm in right now, same house, and just try to figure it out. Kingdom Hearts is not really known for their puzzles necessarily, but, when you're that young, when you're in middle school, that time, I think it was 2002, so I was actually in 6th grade. I was actually, 9-10 years old at the time. When you're that, you don't have the intelligence that you do as an adult. So like simple things as an adult in games that, are action based that you seem to can't do it. You seem to are not be able to do it. And then nowadays, I can figure it out because I'm older now, and I'm just like, I can use context clues to just figure everything out. And it was just amazing. It was amazing seeing Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Maleficent, from I think not Cinderella. Is it Cinderella? I feel really bad. Snow White. That's what it is, right? Maleficent from Snow White. Correct me if I'm wrong. I am terrible, clearly. But Maleficent and just a bunch of characters just interact with each other. And then they called these princesses the Princesses of Heart. And they were the Disney princesses. The original, one of the original Disney princesses, Snow White from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella from obviously Cinderella, Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Jasmine from Aladdin. They were the original 5 princesses of Heart. And then we had the other 2 being Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and an original character of Square Enix's Kairi as a Princess of Heart. And of course now in the latest Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out, they added more Princesses of Heart, and like they changed things up. Apparently Elsa is like a Princess of Heart, and there's me saying it sounds crazy if you're not interested in this kind of stuff, but like when you experience it yourself, it's mesmerizing. When you were, especially if you started with the age that I started at age 9-10 years old, and I'm 25 now, so it's been 15 years since the first Kingdom Hearts game came out. And ironically, I have played and owned every single Kingdom Hearts game to date. I don't own them all now. Now I just consolidated them into pretty much 2 games. I think Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 HD Remix, and also the 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. And I just something about them, just something about them. I guess because as I grew up, I watched just about every one of the Disney classics. And then to date, I've watched every single Disney classic. Not necessarily every Disney movie, but I've watched every single Disney classic cartoon style movie. I've watched every single one of them. And when I can identify the characters that are in each one. So when I see them interacting with each other outside of their specific movie, it blows your mind. And then on top of that, they're not in 2D cartoon flat style. They're 3D animated, and it's amazing. And then when Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out in 10 days or 11 days, they're on a whole new graphical level. Like Kingdom Hearts 3, when you see the main character Sora, the main protagonist Sora, interacting with Elsa, you can see that the art style. Here comes the art side of me. You can see the art style of Sora in the game matches exactly the movie Frozen. It's amazing. When they stand next to each other, it seems like Sora belongs in Pixar. Because I think Pixar in a way as the 3D people. They always do 3D movies, as Disney usually back in the day did 2D stuff. So it seems like Sora belongs with Frozen characters. Because the graphical style of the game and the Frozen characters in the game, it's 1-to-1. He doesn't look like he's just sloppily put into the game. He looks like him and the Frozen characters look like they belong in the same area, like they belong in the same place in the same movie. That's the same thing going with I think they said something about when Sora enters Toy Story, which is when Sora enters the Toy Story world, he actually him being in the Toy Story world, the actions that the things and conflict that happens in the Toy Story world, outside of seeing like the main enemies of called Heartless, and a bunch of Dream Eaters and a bunch of just, there's a lot of creative things that came up with at Square Enix. Outside of those things, apparently whatever happens with Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3 in the Toy Story world is canon to the Toy Story universe. It's like canon, like it actually happened. Obviously, they're not going to make a Toy Story movie like, you remember Sora when he helped us defeat the Heartless? They're not going to talk about that. And I'm saying Andy's room. That's what I'm saying. There's a clip, if you look online, that Sora actually, like, you can see a picture of, I think, Tetsuya Nomura and I think the Pixar people, and they say, yeah, it's an interview. They say, yeah, whatever happened with Sora in Andy's room and, in the little factory, the toy factory, is actually canon to the movies of Toy Story. It occurs between, I think, Toy Story something and something. I think Toy Story like 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. I'm not sure exactly, but it's amazing. Because then you're like, your imagination goes further. Because now that I'm an adult, I'm 25 years old. I'm like, man, I've watched every single Toy Story movie, 1, 2, 3, and I think we have a Toy Story 4. I've seen every single Toy Story movie. I can't see where this comes in, but it's interesting to hear. And then it's also different for me too that, I also draw, I also animate things, I also create things. So to see people's creations from back in the day, how they were, come to life in a whole different style is another amazing thing for me. So it's a very, very mesmerizing series for me. And I hope the game does very well. I hope it's game of the year, honestly, but we don't know what's coming at E3. We don't know what's coming in the future in 2019 this year. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was this segment on Kingdom Hearts and like my connection to it. It's an amazing series to me. I love RPGs just because you get to immerse yourself with the characters and it doesn't give me a headache either. But moving on, I'm at like 18 minutes recording now. Try to keep this around like 25, 30 minutes. Moving on, I was talking about how I'm working on certifying myself in IT stuff, although I didn't major in IT at all. I didn't major in any computer thing at all, computer science. I'm working on using, obviously I don't have sponsors or anything like that, but I'm working on using this place called IT Pro TV because I was trying my community college and I was like, man, I'm not good at studying on my own, but I'm good at watching and listening to people and like regurgitating that kind of content and figuring it out. And because it's only natural that I follow technology daily. Like it's a hobby of mine. I can be at the gym and listen to a podcast. I can be driving, listen to a podcast, doing errands, whatever it is, and it'll be technology. I'll watch technology videos online. It's crazy. Built my own computer. People that are artists, a lot of the time they can't imagine an artist, a photographer, a graphic designer constructing their own computer, which is sitting right next to me that I'm using to record this podcast. They can't imagine a photographer doing that. Like, what? You're gonna buy a Mac and call it a day. So I said, I want to get certifications, but I don't want to have to go through the traditional methods of education. Which this topic will probably be a good one to have on another episode. But like part of me, I never felt like I was fit to go to school in the traditional route. Like it never connected with me to go to school. I didn't even want to go to college, even though I finished it recently. It took me like 5-6 years to do it. I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to go to work directly. I knew what I wanted to do kind of, and I wanted to figure it out on my own. And I didn't want to spend the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars that it costs to go to school, which unfortunately I have to deal with now. I have to deal with the thousands of dollars it costs to go into school. I have to pay that back. And so going forward, I was like, my parents, they're really traditional and they say, hey, you should go to Nova. It's a community college we have near here. You should go there and look what they have for IT thing and take a few courses so that you can help you take the test. But those are traditional methods of schooling. Yeah, they have online classes, but those are still kind of traditional methods. You have to do quizzes, test, and study up for like a couple weeks, and then that's it. And then pass or fail. I'm not doing it for mainly any credits. I'm just doing it because it's more structured than reading a book that's like 500 pages long for CompTIA A+. So I was like, you know what? Recently, I signed up for those classes, and it doesn't start till February. But it costs like $1,122 for 2 classes at a community college in Virginia. It's insane. So I was like, okay, let me shop around and see what places I can find that I can pay less or nothing at all and do the same thing, and it's structured and it's something interesting to me. And then I remembered like a podcast that I listened to, which was I think it's This Week in Tech, Twit, and Windows Weekly, and like it's part of the twit.tv network, not twitch.tv, but twit.tv with Leo Laporte and stuff like that. And I remember the sponsor that they had, it was like IT Pro TV. So I searched it up, and then I saw it, and I was like, do they have CompTIA? And bam, it was CompTIA was there. They have like, you have to pay, I think it's $30 a month, and you can get access to watching their like talk show styles or podcast style tutorials to certify yourself. And then when you're done and you're comfortable and confident, you can go outside and take the test at wherever you want to take the test for the A+ certification or whatever certs you want. So I'm going to try to do that and see what happens. It's a 24-hour total amount of video content that I'll be having to dig into and just listen to on the side, even probably while doing just work around the house and stuff and driving and gym and stuff like that. So I'm going to try that out. I probably won't complete all of it, all those videos, because for the A+ cert, since it's one of the most basic certifications in IT, I already know a good portion of it. I think I know like 85%. I just need to know some of the terminology and like the levels of whatever, because I know those are the parts that annoy me. And then I'm also using my iPad and iPhone stuff. Even though I use an Android phone, I'm using the iPad because it's big. It's iPad Pro 12.9. I'm using that, downloaded a free app. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Pocket Prep, CompTIA. Apparently Pocket Prep has like a bunch of apps for all different types of certifications. So I'm using that to take practice quizzes, and I think for their premium thing, I think that one said it's like $24.99, and I think they'll refund you all of your money if you don't pass after you pass all of their quiz questions. They have over 800, so they'll refund you the money, which I'm not worried about the refund because $24.99 is nothing. So I'm going to do those things. I'm going to do the non-traditional method where you watch videos, you listen to podcasts that are teaching you things, and it's much cheaper. I think it's like $300 a year on IT Pro TV to have access to every single one of their content, including all the other like Cisco Academy stuff, Microsoft Office, Adobe Illustrator style things. They'll help you with everything. And you just, as long as you can sit down, watch it and pay attention and try to understand it, not just watch it like mindlessly, you'll most likely do really well on all the tests. It's a lot of video content that I'll have to watch to do that, but it's something that's interesting to me. As you know, I built a computer myself. I do photography myself. I do a lot of things myself. This podcast, for the most part, I'm running it myself. I learned a lot of things on my own and not through traditional school, even though I went to traditional school. I learned a lot of the stuff that I know now on my own. And so I'm hoping like this different path, even though my parents don't agree with this path of not taking a traditional class, but rather just watching videos on it. My parents don't agree with that, but I want to push forward and do that instead because it's much cheaper. It's not $1,000; it's $300 for 1 year, whereas this is $1,122 for like 4 weeks, which is insane, and it only covers some of what I need to know on the A+ stuff. So hopefully that works together in my favor, and like I'm just pushing. I need to get a better job. I need to expand. And speaking of job, I finally got an interview at a place, my local Best Buy. So that's pretty dope. I'm gonna hope I get it next week, It increases my income of what I make. Then I'll finally be able to go back to doing photography on the side as well with an actual company too. So I'll be doing 2 technical jobs together. And then when the A+ and whatever thing go through, maybe I'll do security plus and A+, or maybe networking plus. Who knows? When those 2 things come together and I apply for IT jobs, that expands my income much better too. And it'll just hopefully keep trickling out, and I can keep doing more and more stuff. And then I have a side project that I'm working on, that I'm still working on now. You guys will hear about it on the podcast probably first, but I'm working on that too. I'm trying to go back to my roots on some things. And basically I'm running this podcast for one reason only. And I said it multiple times, and I said it to multiple people. It's a personal private public diary. No, it's a personal public diary where I'm just talking my mind as if you would talk your mind in a diary. And whatever comes across, whether it's controversial or not, just comes out. It kind of rambles, yes, but I do try to keep things on track. Talked about Kingdom Hearts, talked about my life stuff. It seems to work really well, because what we all know, a lot of us know, and including my friend that I've been talking to about this podcast stuff, is that you never want to keep your thoughts stuck inside your head. You always want to write it out or speak it out, or in some way communicate it out. Because if you don't, you'll be trapped in your thoughts, and that's the worst thing you can do. A lot of crazy stuff happens to people who keep things in their head, depending on what the thought is. If the thought is like a huge epiphany idea for a $1 million business plan, write it down, but keep it secret, to only the closest you trust or just you. But if it's crazy stuff, you have to speak it out. And this podcast is a medium for just about anyone, really. If I had outside guests that even weren't friends or related, this podcast really is a way for people to just speak out about whatever it is they think about. Hopefully you're not talking about crazy stuff like that will get you put in jail, but like it's a means for using your First Amendment right. So at least in the U.S. So hopefully it continues. It's getting tougher and tougher. It's getting tougher and tougher to make these podcasts. I'm losing my voice. It's getting tougher and tougher to make these podcasts, but I'm trying my best. There's a lot of things coming forward now. We'll see what happens. Who knows about technology stuff? Who knows? But hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. You can find The Art of Thought on everywhere where better podcasts or just podcasts are found. You can find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, which they call Apple Podcasts. You can find it on soon Pandora. You can find it on TuneIn and a bunch of other places. So hopefully you enjoyed this show. If you have anything you want to communicate with me, you can find me on Instagram, thatguyKWE, all together.